steam engines are my favorite part of the show. It's just amazing how old they are, and yet they still work and they're in great condition. I mean, that's where everything started. So here we have a Scott 13 horsepower. It's a 1912 owned by Jerry Lookable out of Glen Rock, PA. But I said it all last year when I announced, and I'll say it again. They're my favorite part, and they're the reason that the Maryland Steam Historical Society is what it is. Will keep working. This is a hurdless ass owned by Jesse Byers from Westminster. Here comes another one owned by Jerry Lookable out of Glen Rock, PA. This is a advanced 16 horsepower, and it's a 1910. And there you go. And let me tell you, you actually have to learn and go to classes to learn how to operate these. They're not easy to operate, and you actually have to go to classes and training to learn how to operate them, because you can blow them up very easily if you don't. We have another one over here on the side. It's a 1923 Frick steam traction engine. It's a 7x10 double cylinder, 60 horsepower. It is owned by Tim Bear and family from Glen Rock. Size one. We have a 1916 Case 40 horsepower owned by David and Vicki Front out of Marion, PA. I mean, who doesn't love that sound? Here we got another big one coming. I can tell you it's a Case, but I have to wait to see the tag to tell you the rest. It is a Case 65 horsepower. It is a 1915 owned by Jerry Lookable from Glen Rock. We got another one that's over here. Hopefully my mic will work. Coming first, off first. So here we have a 2060 Russell, owned and operated by the Floor family from Aspers, PA. Oh, here comes the station. Gotta love that sound. I mean, I can't say it enough. I don't know if I've ever seen this one before. I think that's new for this year. Yeah, I I gotta wait to see the tag for the rest. We have a 1924 Keck Gunnerman 2265 owned by the Biseckers from Bear, Delaware. Thank you. Hi, Sloan. Sloan's the doggy riding on the back. Here we have a 1915 Frick 7.5 by 9 Eclipse, 12 to 36 horsepower, owned by the Supers family from Sudlersville, Maryland. Here we have another Eclipse coming. It is also a Frick. It is a 1899 Frick, 7.5 by 9, 12 horsepower, owned and restored by Eric and Pat Harvey from Easton, Maryland. That's an oldie. A 1908 Farquhar, 1545 horsepower, owned and operated by the Nault family out of Wrightsville, Pennsylvania. Here we got another big one coming. I recognize this one either. It could have been here before, but not sure. Let's see, we have a 1916 K65 horsepower owned by the Burke family from Vicksburg, Maryland. And that's the end of the steam engines. Now we have a 72 Cub Cadet lawnmower owned by Brianne Lookable from Spring Grove, PA. And here we have a 1964 Alice Chalmers golf cart owned by Fred Lookable family from Hanover, PA, that is. Here we got a big dozer. It's a Cat T6. It's a 1946 owned by Bob Stiggles from Westminster, Maryland. Here comes another dozer. Cat D2, owned by Jacob Shader out of Freeland, Maryland. Here comes an oldie but goodie. You don't see these very often. This is an Oliver HD, and it is owned by Jacob and Jimmy Shader from Freeland, Maryland. It is an Oliver HD cleat track. Those you do not find very often. Here comes a little Caterpillar. It's a Cat D2, owned by Justin Langford. Here comes another Caterpillar. It's a Cat 10. It's a 1929, and it's owned by the Farm family from Denver, Maryland. And here we got the whole family coming. Mom, Dad, and kiddos too. Way to keep everybody involved. We have a 1982 Cub Cadet 382, owned by Mary and Matt Baird out of Town, Maryland. That little guy's asleep. Here we got a John Deere. It is a 1951 RSN 8857. It is owned by Dustin Alston out of Upper Cove, Maryland. Here comes another John Deere. This is a John Deere L. It is owned by Helena from Upper Cove, Maryland. Here comes a little John Deere lawnmower and a cart. Okay. This is a John Deere 112 lawnmower owned by Dustin Almany from Upper Cove, Maryland. And his little cart is an 80 John Deere cart. And here we have a 420 John Deere lawnmower. And that one is also owned by Dustin Almany from Upper Cove, Maryland. Here we have a John Deere diesel liquid cooled lawnmower. It is owned by Oliver Harris from Upper Cove, Maryland. Here we have a Moline. That's a Minneapolis Moline. It is here it is. It's a 1947 Model C, owned by Wes and Jerry Johnson from Vicksburg. And here comes one I'm a little partial to. This is a Oliver 77, owned by my son, Bradley Harris from Westminster. And here comes a Massey Harris. It is a 1940 Massey Harris Challenger, owned by Wes and Jerry Johnson from Vicksburg, Maryland. And here comes one of only two I've seen at the whole show. It's a Cockshut 1600, very similar to the Oliver. It is owned by Jerry Johnson from Maryland. Here comes a Rumley OilPull. This is a 1928 Rumley W. owned by the Barnes family out of Gamber, Maryland. It is owned by past members Paul Hahn and Oscar Straker. Here comes a 630 John Deere. It's a 1959 630 John Deere owned by the Grass. It's from the Grass family collection from Hampstead, Maryland. A John Deere A is coming along. And that is a 1950A. It is owned by Daniel Dell from Hampstead, Maryland. And he's got a one-row planter hooked to him. Here comes a John Deere 40. It is a 1954 owned by Daniel Dell from Hampstead, Maryland. Here we have 1948 Farmall Model M, owned by Jared and Shelley Keeney from New Freedom, Pennsylvania. Here we got a 318 John Deere lawnmower. It is a 1989 owned by Jared and Shelley Keeney from New Freedom, PA. Here we got another Farmall. We got a 1940 Farmall 8 owned by Scott Thistle from Parkton, Maryland. Here comes another John Deere. You can always tell a John Deere by the sound it makes. It is a Model 810 owned by John Elberfeld out of Sparks, Maryland. Here we got another Farmall. It is a Farmall M owned by Justin Langford. Here comes another oldie but goodie. It's an Oliver Hartpar. It's a 1937 Oliver 2844 owned by John Elberfeld out of Sparks, Maryland. Here we got an International 140. It's got a mower underneath of it. It is an International 140. It's a 1961 owned by Brandon Schulter from Hampstead, Maryland. Here comes another John Deere. It's a 1949 AR owned by Michael Anstein from Orange City, Florida. Thanks for coming from Florida. Here comes another little Farmall. It's a McCormick Series Farmall. And it's a two-seater. It is a 1952 Cub owned by David and Michelle Goldsmith from Newtown, Maryland. Here comes another McCormick Series Farmall. It's owned by J.J. Averts from Hampstead, Maryland, and it's a Farmall F20, and it's a 1939. Here comes an Alice Chandler with cultivators hooked underneath of it. It is a Alice Chandler WC with a WC cultivators owned by the Barnes family from Gamber, Maryland. Here's another Alice Chandler. This is the 1946 Alice Chandler WC. It is owned by James Rowland out of Guilford, PA. a pretty nice Farmall. It's a 1951 Farmall from MD. It's called Big Red. It's owned and restored by Pat and Nancy Stickles from Manchester, Maryland. Owned by Josh Barnes from Gamber, Maryland. And this poor gentleman on this roadway doesn't have a very comfortable ride. Here comes another John Deere. We've got a John Deere R. It's a 1952. It's owned by willsmithhitandmiss from Westminster, Maryland. And if I butchered anybody's names, I'm sorry. Here we have a 1957 Manco lawnmower, owned by Brian Barnes. That's pretty neat looking. Oh, Bowers, I'm sorry. Here we have a John Deere 216 lawnmower, owned by Dalton Whitcomb from Finksburg, Maryland. Here comes the John Deere 520. It has power steering, and it's owned by John Whitcomb from Finksburg, Maryland. Oh, this is an old steel wheel. This is definitely an oldie. This is a 1934 WC Alice Chalmers. It's the first year WCs were made. It's the first year WC truck, owned by the Barnes family from Gamber, Maryland. Here we have a 1949 Economy, owned by the Wanger family from Glen Rock, PA. Here comes a pretty nice looking Farmall. It's a Super H. It's a McCormick Farmall, owned by Chip Johnson. It's a 1953 and Chip's from Westminster, Maryland. Here we have another Rumley OilPull coming up. We have a 1929 Rumley X2540, owned by the Burke family from Finksburg, Maryland. Here we got a 1945 Farmall Cub, owned by the Ayers family out of Glenville, PA. Here we got another one coming. This one has an offset front end. It's a Farmall A. It's a 1945 and it's owned by Jared and Shelley Keeney from New Freedom, PA. Here we got a 318 John Deere lawnmower. It's a 1989, owned by Jared and Shelley Keeney from New Freedom, PA. Here comes another John Deere. We got a 1941 John Deere LA. It's owned by Helena Almany from Upperco, Maryland. have a John Deere H. It's a 1942 owned by Wyatt Dell from Hampstead, Maryland. Here we have a John Deere M. It's a 1949 owned by Daniel Dell from Hampstead, Maryland. And he has a one bottom plow attached. Now here comes one that I'm a little partial to because it's an Oliver. It is a Oliver 70. It's a 1944 and it's owned by Delaney Warehouse. And I do believe that is the